What up? What up? What up? It's another episode of the Shark Cove. We're going to come at you. We're going to come at you hard. We're going to come at you quick. We've got an hour to do this thing, and we've got a first timer. But before I bring him on, we've got the magnificent Moldavian Moose. How are you, Moose?
What's up, everyone? Let's do it.
Moose,
Another
we've
day.
got a first timer with us today. He's been supplying me projections the last 2 days. I haven't been wanting to do them. I see him do them all the time. So we went ahead and we brought him on the show so we can talk about some of those projections and he can kind of give us some insight on where he might be going today. We've got Free Rolls DFS. How you doing, Free Rolls?
You know, honestly, I'm pretty pissed. You have me come on the one episode where, like, the cash game, we're going to talk about for 45 seconds, maybe a minute.
Well, I mean, hey, I think there are a couple angles here, but I was surprised that two of these teams actually fit together, even if it was in a non-sexy way. But we'll get into that. So hey, I will say this. I'm going to announce it. I don't think that there's a ton of people watching yet. Maybe we'll wait for it a little bit because I've got a couple things that I want to throw out there into the ether. About some things that are coming down the pipeline that maybe will rival one of the websites that we go to at the end of this show. We do some fantasy, some best ball. We do it on the season long. But what happens? What happens when the Shark goes weekly? I don't know. Let's hop into it. Let's go ahead and start over with one game that is an absolute banger. We've got Moose's favorite team. If a team would sponsor Moose, it would be this team. That's KT Telecoms, KT Rolster, the boys in aiming, playing against Dam One. Holy shit, this game looks disgusting. Moose, it is well known that you're KT Moose, you're Let 'em Cook, you're the Russian Bear, you're a lot of things. But before anything, you are a KT fan. And we all know that aiming used to fuck. He hasn't recently. What do you make of this game? I mean, it's a smash 275. Like I take this every day, but give me some more insight. This match is gross.
Yeah, particularly, I've enjoyed the season so far with LCK and K, but KT have been, I would say, a little bit disappointing. I mean, it seems like they're kind of in the 4 or 5 range of teams where they're just beating on teams that are worse than them and losing to teams that are better than them. KT did upset Hama Life before this month, but then they went on to immediately lose to Guangdong, and so and then after that they were optimal against Brion. So for me, it doesn't really. I'm still trying to understand where this team is at because I really don't know what KT is going to show up. If we get the KT that is going to, stomp like they stomped the HLE and Brion, then I like them. But D plus Kia are not a walk in the park. They're minus 400 for a reason, and they've been playing pretty well so far as well. Overall, other than a sidestep, a single map loss to the Freaks. And a loss to Gen and T1, which is kind of expected, or maybe not, maybe so. They are overall pretty good at knocking out teams that are considered on a lower bracket than them.
Free Worlds, what are your thoughts here?
It's basically in the same position, except I think I'm probably a little more positive on them from like a fantasy standpoint. one of the things that's most interesting about them, what really puts them into the optimal is like against Brion, they group all of their kills to 3 players. So you've got 89% of all their kills are landing on 3 players. Keen is at 25, BDD's 27, aiming's 37. So when they take a win, it's extremely strong. And I'm not sure, going in, I was really high on Damwon, and I'm not sure that what we've seen from them really should put them in a position where I think this is one of the only games that isn't completely cut and dry, but I'm not sure there's enough meat on the bone for fantasy.
Yeah, I think the big thing that one needs to consider when they're looking at this tandem of teams is going back to what we talked about yesterday. And that's basically when we've seen the LCK and when we've seen teams lose, they've lost in a fashion that doesn't procure them kills. Like, look, when we saw the game yesterday, like, first of all, I woke up and I checked the scores and I saw that LNG had won 19-10. I tuned into the stream, like the scores had updated on some weird website that I look at, and I thought, like, look, I was watching game 2 is what I thought I was watching. I was like, holy shit, like LNG is going to be mega optimal with like 2 19-point wins and a sweep. But no, they were just showing the tail end of that game. But that game that LNG lost just absolutely was the perfect environment. They had 15, 16 kills. That's not what we're getting in these LCK games. When we are getting a winner, they have 15 or 16 kills. If we're lucky, the losers are going to get 4, 5, 6. And so we need to find a sweep, especially in this series, for one of these two teams to come out of this and, compete with some of the big dogs that we have on this slate. So look, from a betting standpoint, I think the plus 275 on KT is absolutely incorrect. I'm slamming that. I think the plus 1.5 minus 120 is a spot that you can go ahead and hedge a little bit there, or maybe you go heavier on that end of it. But when it comes to DFS, like, I want to play some of these, but I'm playing these with the understanding that I'm losing my money on those lineups because like KT wins a game, there's no way Damwon is optimal. Hell, they're going to have a hard enough time doing it with a 2-0 sweep. The same thing goes for KT. They're going to need 2 games like they did against Bro. And you're right, Moose. Like, what do we make of this? Like, KT dropped a game. Like, they dropped a series to KDF. Damwon dropped a game to KDF. Those are really bad indications. Damwon's trending the wrong way. Maybe KT's on the upswing. That was like a Saturday or something. So who knows? Maybe they partied a little bit too hard. Those Koreans, they like to drink. I totally understand not being ready for a game, on the weekend. So I don't know. Final thoughts on this game, or shall we move on?
I mentioned it before. I think the over-under at 19.5, it seems super low, but like in Damwon wins, I only have Damwon projected for 11 kills. If you're playing it for fantasy, I think it has to be the small stack, and you're really only looking at maybe 2 players. And I think it pretty much has to be from KT unless you really expect a sweep from Damwon. That's it.
All right. So no game stacking this first game, huh? That's not the way that we're going to get 15, because that's what we're doing here. We're manifesting the win. So, all right, let's hop into this next game. We've got the other LCK game, a game that, like, I think you can feel pretty good that this might be a 2-0. This might be a game that there's going to be some points. We've got Genji, who've been reasonably bloody in terms of their kills and wins and, kills allowed and losses. And then you've got the challenger team that is Nongshim Red Force. Like, I'm not sure which team is actually worse. Is it Nongshim? Is it KDF? I think maybe they even play this week and they'll be able to decide that. But like this Nongshim team giving up, look, only 12 deaths, 12 deaths per loss, but that is kind of dragged down by a couple 11 kill losses to Bro, a 6 and a 9. There are other games. I mean, they've shown that tendency, 18, 16, 15. Those things exist. And on the other hand, Genji at 16.7 with a pair of 20 points and a 19, pair of 20 kills in a 19 kill game. Free rolls. Kick us off here.
Okay, you can't play Nongshim. Nongshim is going to lose. They're going to lose badly. It's terrible. But it is hard to look at this and not say, Nongshim has stolen a map from some much better teams. Not better than Genji. I think they did get one off T1 though.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Genji has given up 4 maps total through the season, 2 to T1, totally expected. They give up 1 map to HLE, in which case Viper alone, because of the kill percentage, right, scored 70 points. And if I recall correctly, was optimal as a one-off that day on a losing team, just for the salary savings. And then they lost one to LSB where Closer scored 77, Envy scored 75. And on a slate where I think we're looking to jam as much of these high-end and more expensive players as possible, I can't really look at that and go, there's not a possibility to see some potential scoring that we would end up wanting in. But as far as like a betting position, there's nothing here that I want a piece of.
Moose, are you slamming this plus 395 or what?
No, this is a 2-0. We're not.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing to talk about. I will say that I think I don't know if we underestimated, but maybe just because we saw that the ruler leave, that we thought Gen.G was going to play worse. They're still Gen.G, like they're just cleaning house with teams that they consider worse than them. And I really think that one of those major additions that people overlooked was Delight. Delight has been performing really well, and his fantasy output has been fantastic. So definitely something to keep in mind for DFS. Betting wise, I mean, you could probably I don't know, it's a fair line, but even the -1.5 just makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so you're going the other way, -1.5 on the -150. I will tell you what, if I needed us to breeze through a particular slate and get done in under an hour, this for sure was the one. Let's go to the next 2 games and see if we can find something interesting. Let's go to the one that I think has less overall interest in terms of the result being kind of a foregone conclusion. We have RNG, who, as many of you watching, whether it's live or on the VOD, may know that when we did our East preview, when we talked about the best ball, some visitors on the show, maybe Nathan, I think Moose co-signed it. Quite a few people were very high on RNG. They told me that this was an S tier team. They said that this team was going to be nearly as good as they were the year before. They're going against JD Gaming, and there was no doubt about it that team was in the S tier, and they've taken care of business. In some cases, they've taken care of business too quickly and not been optimal. In other cases, they've played with their food, and you want to have 4 JDG in your lineup. Moose, what kind of day is it today? There's no bunnies. There's just Mings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's
sorry.
yeah, there's an interesting segue, but just seems like it seems like JD Gaming are the team that are just high floor, high ceiling, and I know that sometimes they finish games too fast, so their floor is still like 70 points, but their overall ceiling is incredibly high. The -1.5 here is probably a complete slam, and I think we are all waiting to see RNG actually start playing like RNG, but the loss of Xiaohu has proven to be a complete disaster for the team. And even with Ming back, I thought, last time I thought maybe they would be able to do something in their last matchup, and they just crumbled. I think it was against Edward Gaming. I think they just absolutely crumbled. So, yeah, I'm not high on RNG right now. I think they got a lot of issues to figure out with their team, and it seems like they're really lacking that type of confidence. So, sign me up for the JDG 2.0. Sign me up for JDG in cash. Sign me up for everything to do with the letters J, D, and G tonight.
Yeah, and hey, so free rolls. Let's think about this though. Like RNG, they've played a relatively tough schedule so far, right? They opened with OMG. They won 2 games. They sweep that series. Everybody's looking at me like I'm an idiot. They belonged in the S tier, but then they go on to get just absolutely whomped by IG. They lose to this EDG team that we're going to talk to, and in just fantastic fashion. And then just looked like they rolled over and died against an LNG team that, despite only dropping 1 map so far this split, still looks like they have some serious holes that can be exploited. RNG wasn't able to do it. Is this RNG team somebody that we're not, or when I say me, am I not giving them enough credit for playing a tough schedule? Do they have a better shot than some of the other dogs that we've talked about today?
If you go into the best balls in the best ball 100, you note that I have 3 RNG players. I felt like I had just stolen them straight out of the draft and that I was going to crush. Here's the thing. Moose is 100% right. The line here is the 2-0. It pays, I think it's like a just minus 115. It's basically even money. And I think that is, I can't find a way here. The one bet that I wish somebody would set a prop for was how many games Tangwan plays, because if they lose the first game, I think there's a chance we see Angel again. And that's definitely not a recipe for success. And it's a quick fold for them.
Yeah. Again, I think we're just going to breeze through some of these games. We might have time to go to the LCS. Look, I don't have much to say here. Like, do I think RNG has a better shot of winning than Nongshim? I don't know if I do, honestly. I think we've seen, cracks in the Gen G armor, albeit really, really, really small. This JDG team, was tested against BLG, had some challenges yesterday, but this RNG team, man, I don't know. I guess, hey, look, it's one of those things. When you count a team out, they come to play. And when you think a team can't lose, they drop some games. So maybe that is a recipe. Maybe we do play some RNG. I don't know. Let's go ahead and talk about this last game. I think that this is what kind of makes or breaks the slate. This is going to be like that LNG, OMG. This is the game that, like, you either have to play a side of it, right? You have to get on one side of this to fit and have some really nice lineups with whether it be JDG or Gen G, or you just don't play this game and you don't play it at all, right? Like, you just decide that, like, hopefully this will be a back and forth series that we see like these 14-5 games. So the winner ends up with like 33 total kills, not in a sweep. The loser's got like 24, and these dudes are all at like 50, 60, and hopefully some sweeps other places come. Now, if that happens, I think we see like a missing captain or something like that, or maybe Moose is onto something. Maybe Delight is the delightful way to build a lineup. I don't know, but Free Rolls, you kick this off right here. Ninjas in pajamas. They've looked bad. They've looked good. EDG Gaming. We know what I think of them. Tell me where you're going here on this tandem.
I also was really high on EDG coming into the season. I think I was wrong there as well. We haven't seen anything from them that really looks convincing, and especially not consistent. Whereas we have a couple players on Ninjas in Pajamas that is definitely just going to be consistent. We know what we're getting out of them. I think one of the things to do is to just, in my mind, is to go ahead and take the NIP position here and really keep it as a small stack for DFS. I think that, like in my projections, that is going to bear out to be the best way, whether it's a 2-1 or 2-0, that allows us to have a better captain and look at more JDG positions throughout the rest of the slate.
Moose, is NIP what some would call, in some very bougie circles, a chalk dog?
Oh yeah, 100%. No disrespect to EDG, they're obviously the organization and their coaching.
All
is
the
really
disrespect.
Good. It feels to me like EDG can bring in anyone and make them a good player. Like the team is super cohesive. Like they play well. They make Fofo look like a good player. So all overall, everything is I all respect to EDG, but I think NIP is definitely the chalk dog tonight, and I think that I am interested to see if they are able to pull off the upset in this spot. EDG is not unbeatable. They're good, but they're not unbeatable in this spot. So I don't know. Maybe Free Rolls has a hotter take than me, but EDG did lose 2-0 to Invictus, and I feel like NIP is not far off from that.
Yeah, I think the real question, though, is going to be Pout, because Pout's starting tonight for NIP in the mid. It's hard to believe that wouldn't be an upgrade for them based on where we're coming from. But, well, that's the plan, man. Just 2-3-3 for 8 players. But yeah, what you want to do is try and figure out what you're going to do with Pout. I think that the trick here is to just probably dodge him because we don't know what we're getting. And if they lose the first game, it could throw the whole lineup into array. But we know what we're getting from Invincible, XLB, Fodek, Xiao, and they're winning like position by position. They're winning all of those positions individually against EDG, except maybe at top, but.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing that you kind of have to when we look at these teams from a DFS standpoint. I think a lot of people, when they're playing NIP, are going to go ahead and play NIP with Gen G. They're going to play NIP with JDG. Like if you're playing in the large GPP and you're doing some variation of a 4-3 that has Gen G and NIP and JDG and NIP in it, just don't. Like, what are you doing? Like, everybody's going to be fucking doing that. It's stupid. And if it wins, God, it's disgusting. And you might get like $600 because you're going to split it with like 70 or 80 people. I think that if you're doing that, you need to get creative. You need to get some one-offs. I mean, look, when we looked at the lineups yesterday that won outside of the game stack, some of the ones that finished really high, it was because WE pulled off a huge upset. You get those 10% kind of 10% or lower owned players. You can get kind of creative with it. These GPPs at 4,700 people are larger than what we saw, I think, through the entirety of last year, even in springtime, when, around this same time last year when it was at its like yearly height, I should say. So I don't know, like if you're playing NIP, I think that there's some tremendous value in getting really disgusting and playing them with like KT or playing them with DK or playing them with Nongshim or RNG. Just playing one of those dog lineups. Fuck, I don't care playing RNG and NRF, Nongshim and RNG. I don't know why I said NRF. My bad. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, dogs win slates. The games that they're in order for them to win, they usually have a higher kill percentage. That's the whole trick, right? This isn't that slate, though. I mean, that's right. The thing. Like, I'm happy to be here, but looking at the slate, isolating out one of these dogs from these 4 games, we have 2 games that seem so lopsided that, I mean, you would get better. If you play Nongshim, man, you're going to get them at an incredible percentage. You're going to have leverage against the field. Will it end up being optimal, though, even if they win? I mean, who knows? I guess Nongshim would be, but KT at 12, 13 wins per win, they would have to 2-0 to end up anywhere near optimal, and you're leaving still almost $6,000 on the table. I'm not sure this is the slate for that, right? Like, it just seems wild.
No, salaries are a meme. All right, salaries are a meme when it comes to dogs winning. Right, dogs win, then the salaries go out the window. The whole point of a salary is that, hey, you fit as many winners as you can in league, right? And that's pretty much what we're doing. So it's, I feel like if you have a double dog win on a day, then salaries are really rough.
Absolutely. Do you think there's 2 dogs here, Moose? You got 2 dogs that look good for you?
No, I like.
Or do you have a dog that's not NIP? Is really the thing. Like,
yeah,
like
no,
you can be confident in NIP, but like again, they're going to be stacked with like Gen or JDG. So like you need to go over and play it with Damwon or play it with KT. So you're essentially looking for a second dog in this field. This needs a 5th game. It needs a 5th game, is what it needs.
Yeah, so it definitely needs a 5th game. It needs a bigger 3-3 tournament because I'm absolutely disgusted by these single entries because I hit the 180 yesterday and nutted it, and if I had just had that lineup in a typical like 2 or 3 entry 3-3, I would have won. But the tournaments are the bigger tournaments are small enough where if you're playing a mix of dog and favorite, you're good. If you're playing in the 15, get creative. I forget what won last night, but obviously like. The people that are entering into that line.
It was a game stack, Moose. It was a game stack.
It was the game stack, right? The LNG game stack with OMG and like T1 team. Yeah. So like it's unfortunate because kind of pushes people out of playing those tournaments. Like I don't want to play 140 lineups when I know that the dude that wins it, from time to time is just throwing away $2,000 a night with ridiculous lineups in order to nut that one special one every week. And so for me, it's like, I get it. Like you do have to cover your bases, with game stacks and stuff like that. And you need but you do have to have the perfect scenario happen. Those guys that are winning at the top with game stacks are also the guys that are losing on nights where, like, we had a night where like if it was a 4 or 5 game slate where every chalk team won, right? And it was just like
Sure.
some weird chalk mix at the top. I think it was like even a support captain one last week, right? Like double support. And so it's just like the tournaments definitely need to work. And yeah, I think the biggest edge that you're gonna find tonight is fitting expensive players that aren't JDG. So for example, like if Gen have a KT like game where they drop 23 to 24 kills, then they could very well be optimal in that spot.
But Moose, let me show you something. I don't know how much you've played with this yet, but take a look at what you can do with Gen G and JDG. And you could do a lot more than that. You could probably do a top captain. I'm not even sure. Could you do it?
You can. There's a 369 captain variant.
Oh my god. What are they even doing? Like, incredible. Yeah, so like, what is your thought on running just different variations of these two teams? I mean, that's talking about Alan Bellman, talking about the slate that you said were support captain. That's what he did. Like, if you looked at, I mean, you go back in the CSV, you can look at it, you can take a look. I mean, that's what it was. He cashed every single lineup too. I mean, I think the only thing that you're afraid of in that scenario is one of these other two games popping off. Now, look, if this EDG NIP is as close as we think, like if we're really feeling like NIP have a good chance to win this, I don't think any of us feel like confident that series goes 2-0. Like, we're strong there. We feel confident that both of these 2-0. So if that 2-1s and the game is not a absolute bonanza for the losing team in either of the scenarios, KT and Damwon just do a status quo. Like, one of these combinations can definitely get there. Whether it's a 369, whether it's a Dorn captain, whether it's even look, you can get kind of crazy here. You could do something like this, man. You've got that's not
it's the same thing.
This is what I was gonna say. You could go Kanavi captain, get 4 JDG, got ruler and missing. You got a peanut fofo with an EDG team slot. I don't hate that. I don't hate it at all. I think that's a pretty nice little kind of put together there. I think you could play around with that. The idea being that you can get 4 JDG in a lineup with a Kanavi captain who hasn't been Kanavi last year, but has still been pretty damn close.
Yeah, I mean, originally when I was looking at lines, I was looking at 4 JDG with Kanavi captain for cash.
Okay.
And, you basically have to, in a very weird way of saying this, but you have to punt a Damwon player. Because like it's so tough because you're getting such low value from the Damwon guys right now. I mean, I think Canna is averaging 48 points a game. Like, who's playing Canna tonight, right? Like, he's averaging 48 points a game, so I don't really see that happening. Like I said, I think the biggest edge in tournaments, if you don't want to play just like chalk stacks, is finding a way to fit expensive stacks like 4 Gen or 4 EDG and winning off of like single entry or winner take alls.
Yeah. I think. Go ahead, Pre-Roll.
No, I mean, it's one of those things where I think a 3-team, like for me, 3-team lineup construction is going to be the way tonight for like larger field and GPPs, especially where we have someone like, I mean, I'll give my game away here, but you have Vodic, which like, positionally, if things round out the way they should, even if it's like a 1-2, what you're able to elevate at that captain position, you're gaining enough points that realistically it may be enough to grind you through. I do also want to note that on this morning's slate, I think there were still like the 3rd or 4th best lineup was also a support captain again today.
Mm-hmm.
The morning's like the 2-game slate.
No, this morning.
No.
I mean, yeah,
Today's
Yeah.
slate,
yeah.
I
2-game
don't.
slates, baby.
I don't understand. Why do you think the Steam has been so wrong? The Steam.
I think he means the stream. He's asking why you're so wrong.
I don't know. I left yesterday with LNG being absolutely optimal, so I think that we've been pretty close. Again, we're not here to be 100% correct because nobody ever will. It's just talk about it, put you in a spot where you can think critically off of our thoughts. I don't know.
I don't know. It just feels like a slate where you could easily end up running too many lineups to cover your bases. Like maybe I'm really wrong here. Maybe I'm way off base, but it just doesn't feel like you need that many to get through.
So why do I think? So one of the things that I think happens, especially at the start of the split, and even more so in spring, is I don't know if the books can accurately account for some of the roster changes and different things in the meta sometimes. And as a result, you get some teams that just didn't play together for a long period of time, don't have the continuity. Maybe the coaching staff is something that we don't talk about, and I've known people in the past do, but all those things have an impact. And so it tends to normalize, I think, right around 5 to 6, maybe 7 games or series, and you get odds that are probably a little bit closer. But the other thing that I think that we've seen, and this is across all leagues, is that there's just been a little bit more parity. And what I mean, I guess you still have your clear-cut top teams, but I think a lot of the bottom teams have elevated themselves in such a fashion that they can compete with those mid-tier teams. I mean, we didn't think that SK was going to be one of the teams that got into the top 8, right? We didn't think XL was not going to make it when we're talking about LEC. And teams are still going to pick up a couple of these upsets, but I do think you're right that we've seen a lot more massive upsets than we have in the past. We've always seen them, but it can just be a team having a good read on the meta. So I think it's always good to go that way and kind of go from there. Yeah. You're right. Yes. Steam betting. Steam. Look, I was thinking Steam, the game thing, like the gaming thing. I was confused. Yeah, exactly. Inefficient market. Here we go.
Inefficient market. Yeah. Well, I think we know what everybody's playing for cash tonight. So if you want to get creative, get creative. If not, just split the rake. You know what I'm saying? Just split the rake. Yeah. Obviously, in the bigger price entry tournaments, you're gonna see me playing. Last night I wanted to fit LNG so bad into like a stack and put it in the 3-2-3, but I couldn't because I just wanted them to pair them with WE, so I had to play them in the lower tournament. But yeah, I think tonight definitely a focus on the NIP EDG game. And finding edge in those markets, finding edge in places where you can maybe put a 4 stack together, maybe a 3-4 with a captain that isn't your 4 stack, right? Like a lot of people overlook that lineup. Those lineups win all the time. So there is room for getting creative. And if I wake up tomorrow and Damwon or Jen drop 22 kills in a game, I really wouldn't be that surprised.
Look, that's what I was going to say. Well, yeah, Jen, absolutely not. But here's the thing. Welcome to the show. We're here a lot of the time. This is about as sober as I get. So you're in for a treat here. Or maybe go back, watch the other one. Maybe you're in for a treat when that breaks. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know which version is better. I think some days it's one, some days it's the other. When I actually remember the stream the next day, that's always a good thing, and I'll remember this stream. But hey, look, I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up tomorrow and because I'm not going to wake up to watch the KT Damwon series. It's not happening. I know, Moose, you might stay up through it, but us on the East Coast, that's just absolute recipe to fall back asleep. I wouldn't be surprised if Damwon comes out of this with 38 kills. They're going to win 19-5 and 19-12. Damwon's going to be in the optimal, and it is disgusting. It's disgusting. Okay.
3-year-old looking at you right now and just cringing.
I mean, if it goes 3 games, I can get him to 30 maybe. Like the idea of them getting more than 30 overall is
Man,
like
they're allergic to
wild.
kills, man. The
Yeah.
whole meta slowdown, they're allergic to kills. But at the same time, like LCK stacks are oftentimes very, very optimal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're always trying to find that, and I'll tell you, the weirder thing is when Nongshim's the small stack, right? So it's like a double LCK Damwon Nongshim takedown. You see them all sub 1%. I'm right up there getting that 15, like 15, 5, 3, and 2 because I have just nothing but that. Or you can find me at the bottom of the CSV where you can't find me outside of downloading that. Any kind of stands? I mean, Moose, you kind of said where it is. Sounds like you're just going to eat some chalk. You're going to like it and play some smaller tournaments as a result.
Yeah, definitely gonna eat some chalk. Think about EDG and IP pretty hard and play some tourneys.
All right,
I
free
don't know,
rolls,
free
and
rolls.
you are you're going with a Frankenstein build. It sounds like little 3 small stacks. Going to put 9 players in there. Just get the extra 2 players on anybody else, and
3 team builds, big favorites, 1 offs of underdogs probably is the way I'm looking today.
All right. So it sounds like we're all getting a little too cute. Play for JDG. Just join the 30 to 35% of people that will likely beat me. Let's go into the next segment. I don't have music for it, so I'm just doing it right there. We've got the Underdog Fantasy section, code Cove at sign up. Hey, before we hop right into that, I will say, and I kind of teased it earlier, I don't know how many people were here. I think more people are here at this point. We are going to be launching a couple things over in the season-long chat in the esports department Discord. First and foremost, we are going to have LCS single week DFS. Oh, not DFS, but best ball. Best ball. Yeah, best ball. So we're gonna do weekends. We might do games. So that's gonna be that's something that we're gonna do over there, and we're gonna try and figure it out for the LPL. LCK will do that if there's some interest. I think what I'm gonna do for the LPL is set like a 5-day, like maybe a week. Like if we look at like a, hang on, let's see if we can even bring this up on the screen without this going crazy. So I might do something like this. We might go like these are the games that are eligible. We're going to play week 5. Now, the thing with that, obviously, and you can't see this is way too small. It's like for people with binoculars. But you can see like LGD plays twice, Up plays twice, OMG plays twice. There's some of these teams that might only, so like RNG only plays once. They'll be in the pool. You can draft them if you want, but obviously there's a huge disadvantage. I don't think that there's any scenario where somebody plays 3 times. If so, we'll try and exclude that from it. But these are just a couple of things that we can play. People like the best ball, but I think that there's just such a delayed gratification at times on it that if we can add some excitement and get some of these going throughout the season, maybe we can build up and have bigger leagues in summer. While we're talking about that, let's talk about our direct competition. These guys don't have it yet, so we can go ahead and do it. Even when they have it, we can do it. We can just figure something out. Let's talk about where we're going here. Let's make some picks. I have one pick immediately, and I think I'm going to steal it from you, free rolls, because I think you probably saw it. Somebody alluded to it in chat. We're going to go down. We're going to find the boy Pez, the Pez dispenser, 10.5. He's still sitting at 10.5. Am I crazy? Is that like an automatic lock-in?
It's way too low. It's just way too low. Right. I mean, I do only have him forecasted for 12 to 13 in a 2-0, but I actually feel like my forecast there is probably a little low considering the strength of competition. So yeah, I like that 10.5 a lot.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put it in a main ticket because you know how I feel about supports, but I think Delight at 1.5 kills, he's a support you can take the over at 1.5 and feel like you're in a good spot, right? Like because Delight has been a killer, and Kale let us down yesterday. I don't think Delight's going to let us down today, but let's go to the rest of the ticket. We got Fofo at 8 kills in a series that I think we're concerned that not only do they maybe drop a game, but they maybe drop 2, making him pretty unplayable in my eyes.
Yeah, if it's 1-1, I have him for 7-7. If it's 2-0, I have him for 9. It's a fade position for me or a lower.
All right. Moose, what are you thinking? Fofo, Invincible at 4. We've got Knight at 8.5. What do you like? Do you like any of it? Do you want me to show you more?
Man, the Fofo one I feel like is pretty spot on, right? That one. I would avoid Invincible at 4 kills. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't know if I. I don't know if I would wager the over on that one either. And then Knight at 8.5 is probably the most interesting one. Yeah, I think the Knight at 8.5 is probably where I would be looking, considering the fact that he has been absolutely bonkers.
All right. So, do we think that there is even a remote chance that WEI, Mr. Way, or RNG can take one game from JDG? I don't know what I did there, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just trying some new things today.
No, it seems really unlikely, right? And so he should have under 2 kills probably. But if they do take one game, then it's a lock. I mean, he'll hit it every time that they have a win, pretty much. I think
a little bit too risky for me.
Yeah, I think it's way too risky. Though I really like the Invincible at 4. I'd have the higher on that because I think that goes 1-1, and if it does, then Invincible should be closer to like 6. That's that one as well as Knight, which I have at almost 11. Those are positions I really like.
Okay. Let's take a look at a couple other here. I don't think anybody wants anything to do with Showmaker. I think that number's pretty low. I almost would think that maybe an under is playable there, but I don't think I really want to touch it. Ken, I think at 3, if you think KT can take a game, I actually like that at 3 more than I like the Invincible at 4. But I don't like either of those necessarily. So
I'm not going to try and talk you into it, man. Like
I'm throwing that out there. I just look. You can
most
play
of these lines
Invincible.
are like so good. Like most of them are really sharp. I don't feel there's a lot that have a lot of space, and I feel like they've really sharpened up over the last week a lot. It's been a lot rougher week than my first week on there.
Well, let's talk about some rivals. Let's see if we can add anything to the ticket. Moose, you see it on the screen. Do we think that Ale 4.5 over leave? We've got Gigi 6 over leave. These are huge lines, especially if EDG loses. These are hard to these are huge kill totals to make up.
Yeah, especially if EDG. I mean, the GG has been so bad though, man.
I think it's one of those things too, though. If you are going to play this Invincible line, playing like the GG +6 or the Ale +4.5 makes a ton of sense, because what you're basically saying is that I think that NIP takes one of these first 2 games, maybe both, and if they do, Invincible can get these 4 kills. But if that's the case, I think it's very hard for Leave to make up like a 6 kill difference against this jungler, or 4.5 against, possibly one of the better players on the team.
Leaves last 3 are 7, 3, and 15, and GG's last 3 are 4, 1, and 1. So like,
look, if Leaf gets 15 kills in a game, like
EDG is
it doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter. Like that's just, you're on the wrong side of the outcomes. Okay, like it doesn't matter. You weren't in the wrong spot. You weren't on the wrong side. You were just in the wrong place. You need to take some mushrooms and go to the place that I went to. I don't know. I guess I'm not really crazy about any of these, but I do think that you can play them with Invincible. I think that that's kind of maybe a way that I would go. I think we're going to have some agreements here. I think that we're going to have some coalescence, some harmony, some synergy on the photic lines. Are these ones that interest you, Fearless?
Just to quickly say what you were saying before, address that. Yeah, the trick is building it like it's a lineup so that you have correlation in between all of your tickets. That's the most likely way you'll do it. If you put in 2 tickets at $5, you're in $10, you get $100 out. That's the trick. Here with Fodic, it depends. They still have to win a game probably, because if they don't win a game, Fodic doesn't, on average, have the same type of kill participation or score that would put them even over 3 on XLB or Xiaolin Bao. So I obviously I think that NIP is going to take a game. And so I see a whole stack of props here that lets me take 4 basically from this one game and then just rotate in other pieces. And I'm hoping that's my payday today. But yeah, in general, Fodic should outscore Xiaolin Bao.
Got it. I like it. Ruler over Kanavi, Ruler over 369, Kanavi over 369. Do any of these 3 interest either of you gentlemen?
If it's a 2-0, I mean the Ruler over Kanavi or 369, but yeah, I think I would take the Ruler over Kanavi if it's a 2-0, but it's tight.
It's tight. You need Kanavi to play Sejuani.
Yeah.
All right, so neither of you convinced me on these. That's okay.
Our
okay.
betting lines like so.
What about Gala over Tangwan? We've got Gala over Breathe over Tangwan. I mean, we think these guys are going to lose.
You're taking an adjustment position, so you just want to find the one that has the biggest adjustment and hope that they score. What do I have them forecasted for? 5 kills a game. If so, JDG sweeps. You're talking 10 kills, so maybe 2.5 is enough to keep it even with Breathe. But against, it just doesn't seem like there's enough there, and the variance of where the kills would be so high with so few total kills.
Yeah, I mean, look, and you're projecting them at 10, but there's a real possibility that they get like 5 or 6, right? Like they could just as easily as anyone's legend lost with 2 total kills. Maybe they're like 3 times better than anyone's legend, and they get 6. Some of these numbers just become very difficult and a little bit more random. Obviously, the more kills that are in a game, the more kills that happen in kind of like traditional spots. But if you have like 1 or 2 kills or 3 or 4, I mean, like they could just be really weird spots. Somebody could steal a kill, it's a last hit, and all of a sudden, you have 6 kills in a series total in a 2-0 loss, and they all went underway. None of these guys score. So obviously the adjustments help, but these adjustments aren't nearly as large as some of the favorites see. Here's one that I think that I can get behind, and I think Moose is going to trump it. But our boy Deft here over Canna. Canna just has not been doing anything. Canyon hasn't been doing anything. I know that I told you that these guys are going to get 38 kills in a 2-0 loss or 2-0 win. In a loss would be wild, right? But in a win. So do we like Deft, who at one point this season was like basically the only guy that could last hit a champion on this team?
Deft, man, those are some big numbers, man. Those are big numbers.
No,
I don't know.
Fix the graphic.
Does Deft even need to play the game to win tonight? Yeah, I guess he does, right? Yeah, I mean, based on data, Deft would be the guy you would bet on, but the 5.5 is heavy. I mean, Ken is going to get you a maximum of 5 kills. So we're saying that Deft is going to get over 10.5, right? So
the half is big.
The half is big because Deft is averaging over 10.5 kills a game. If we do think that this game is going to be a little bit closer than their blowouts, I could definitely see that. I mean, what do we need him to get? 11 or 12 kills?
Yeah, I guess so. I initially went there, but I almost I haven't really looked too close at it. Maybe like pre-rolls. What do you think? Do we go to these def lines? Do we avoid them? Do we go over to Canyon at +5 or +0.5 over Canna? Is that the play?
They're game dependent. They're outcome dependent. With that big of an adjustment, we really do have to have an idea of what it's going to be. And I think the play here, if you were like forcing a bet, the play is probably just to take again the largest adjustment and do the canyon and hope that it goes 1-1, because in a 1-1 situation, Deft scoring 5.5 more is probably unlikely, but still possible. Like I
mean,
hate the Deft positions.
I mean, let's say maybe they get 17. Like if they in a 1-1, let's say they get let's say they win the first game 14 to whatever. The second game they get a 5-kill loss, and now they have 19 kills, and Deft has what? I mean, like
6 or 7
of those. I mean, you could have higher, right? And Canyon could have none. Could have absolutely none. Look, Deft, we've seen it. He could have 19 out of 19. So I get what you're saying. I mean, I guess that's a lean, and not one I think that any of us are confident one way or the other. So I wonder how we're going to look at this right here. Aiming over Cuz, aiming over BDD, BDD over Cuz, free rolls. I mean, again, I know it's game dependent. I know KT needs to win a game here. But these are not nearly the same kind of chunky numbers that we just saw.
No, the aiming over Cuz actually is a line that I really like. If KT take a game, it's one of the lines that I have a lot of. I just feel like if they take a game, that the numbers are going to bear out in a way where aiming is going to end up around like 7 or 8, and Cuz has just been pointless, just pointless. He might have 2. Like even if they take a win, what's the point of him being there? It's awful, man. I really like the aiming position here if KT wins a game. I would not take aiming over BDD though, because their kill shares have been pretty close, and if they win, somebody has to carry in it. It could be BDD.
Well, we've got one more here to discuss on Gen G. We think Gen G is going to 2-0. In that case, I mean, Doran's been pretty good. Peanut's been better than I think people give him credit for. Do we want anything on this trio? Chovy Doran, Chovy Peanut, Peanut Doran.
Long, hard breath.
I mean, what do you think? Like, where's it at here? Because how many kills are they going to end up with? Let's assume it's a 2-0, right? Uh-huh. So in a 2-0 positionally, we're going to put the majority of the kills onto Pays, and then it's just kind of a crapshoot. Everybody else is about even, and I think that you're probably just you have to find the best position, and maybe Doran's the way to do it. Is to take the 2 with Doran, say it's going to be a 2-0, and just assume that Doran stays up in the top lane and gets some solo kills against Law and Order.
I think what you need to do is you need to dust off the good old defense versus position stats and go ahead and take a look at see who gives up kills to mid laners, top laners, and junglers, because they're very intuitive stats. They'll never lead you astray. That's how I start my day every day. A cup of coffee, like a half a cup of egg whites, 1 single egg, a little bit of ketchup, some bagel seasoning, and defense versus position. It's the only way to do it. I think we're going to kind of skip this. I feel like they're all pretty much in line. So while I'm ragging on that, I almost don't think that that's like the worst thing to do in this scenario. But I think that that's probably just a bad overall way to approach some of these. What about these? I mean, DN, we've got Vital, we've got Fiesta, we've got Vital, we've got Fiesta versus DN. I don't know. I don't think we need to force any of these unless you have a strong opinion. I think we're pretty good with the 4 that we have, but I'm willing to hear both of you out and make a case for a fifth.
I don't hate Fiesta with the adjustment versus Vital. Vital's been pretty rough in losses. Fiesta's generally stayed right with him, but I don't know. I don't think I'd force it.
Stayed right with him in the losses.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they go right to the grave, man. That's the whole point, and they're gonna spend this whole game just respawning at the tower, man. Like it's terrible.
Well, I think that in that case, you take these 4, you mix and match. Maybe you don't mix and match this one as much, but you use these 2 as your basis. We talked about the NIP ones that have correlation with Invincible. I think that there are maybe even some that have anti-correlation, but I guess maybe you don't want those, like a Fofo going over 8, this then Invincible. I mean, he can still easily get over his 4 in 2 losses. So I think that these are the 4 that you stick with. We talked about a couple other gems out of there. Go ahead and put those in, put the tickets in, make some money. That's all we've got for today. So, Moose, final comments, concerns, or any funny jokes that you might have?
Man, you're really putting me on the spot here. Such a sleepy slate. I don't really know what to say. If you're gonna play tournaments, try to be different. If you're just gonna jam 4 JDG into a tournament lineup and think you're gonna win, you're gonna be in for a rude surprise. Or you're splitting money with everybody.
Free rolls, what about you?
I basically the same thing. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Obviously, in your presence, my nerves have gotten a little bit the better of me. Two big heroes like yourself, so it's been a real honor.
Yeah,
thanks a lot, guys.
Big time to me. You're making me feel special, like we've got something going here, Moose. No, don't feel like that. You did fantastic. Just remember, when you're looking at this slate, guys, time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. That's all I've got.
All right, peace out. What was that?